what do you think agents and managers say is the single biggest mistake writers make when trying to break into the industry? And I'm going to not answer that question immediately. I'll get there in a few minutes. So I'm going to give you guys, again, some time to try to figure out how you would answer that question. And what I want to move on to is look at things from the writer side. I spent this weekend at the Screenwriting World, which was an amazing event that was in LA, and people came from all over the world. And you just had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of writers who are very passionate and excited about trying to launch a career, trying to live a creative life where they are a storyteller, be it for a TV program, be it for feature films. And when you hang out with writers in internet forums or in these events like Screenwriter World or at parties, and you listen to writers, what you constantly hear from writers who have not yet broken into the business is a complaint about how hard it is to break into the business, and specifically how hard it is to get past gatekeepers, and how hard it is to get an agent or a manager, or if you have an agent or manager, to get out and get the meetings, to get access. How incredibly difficult it seems to launch a career in this industry and to get access to people that can make that happen. And you hear that all the time. I have a lot of friends and a lot of reasons to hang out with writers, but I also have a lot of friends who are agents and managers and producers, and I hang out with those folks. And so it's very interesting to get the view from the industry side, which is the exact opposite. The writer side is, how come it's so hard to get anybody to want to read my script? I don't have a track record. How come it's so hard to get people to read my script? And when you look at it from the industry side, their number one complaint is how difficult it is to find new writers that can write amazing material. And when I'm talking about amazing material, I'm talking about material that has great characters and a great story. And I'm constantly having managers and agents call me asking me which of my students they should read. One of the things to keep in mind is that the demand for new writers who can constantly write original, amazing material far exceeds the supply. And that's a really important thing to keep in mind. This is actually one of the best times to try to be breaking in the industry. Let me tell you something that happened that will shed a little light into how the industry really works. Met with a producer on the Warner Brother lot at Lynn Pictures. And so what producers do is they come up with ideas and they find source material, be it graphic novels or plays or original ideas, and they're constantly going to the studio saying, buy this for us, and give us money to hire a writer. This could be a great movie. And the studio usually says no, but every once in a while the studio says, hey, that is a great idea, fits with what we're looking to do, let's do it. And what the producer wants is for the studio to say, this is such a big, exciting idea, and we're so much behind this, we will give you whatever it takes to go get the best possible writer. Go get an established A-list writer who's written 2 hit movies, and if it costs $1.5 million to bring that writer in, so be it. But more likely is the studio will say, we'll buy this for you, we think it's exciting, but we're going to give you $100,000 or $150,000 for a writer. So you can't get a big A-list writer. Now what you can get is like a newer writer, and I'm not saying younger writer. I've had many students in their 40s and 50s break into the business. I mean a new writer, someone who their first job they're going to get paid $75,000 or $100,000, and they're going to be happy for it and excited because they just got a job at Warner Brothers, and if they do a good job, that's going to lead to a career and possibly a movie getting made and a credit. When the producer who I met with got that kind of money, they had to basically hire someone who didn't have a track record, because anyone who has a track record is not going to work for that amount of money. And so they have to find a new writer. And his greatest complaint is how hard that is. Now, it's certainly his objective isn't to find a new writer willing to write a script for $75,000 or $100,000. He could put an ad on Craigslist and get 1 million people willing to do that. He's got to find someone willing to do that who has proven capacity through some spec scripts that they can deliver, that they know how to write amazing material where the characters and the story are at a truly professional level. They've got to find that writer and then sell that writer to the studio. And that's what everybody is complaining about, that yes, there are a million writers who want to write and have a career and be read, but almost none of them are writing to the level that we need. So the good news is that if you can consistently write scripts with amazing characters and amazing story, the industry is looking for you. And I don't know a single person who can do that who doesn't have a career. And of course, the bad news is most new writers can't write original, amazing material, even though they think they can. Hence the toxic cloud, which I'll get to in a minute. So again, to define what does it mean for something to be original, amazing, there are plenty of writers who can write scripts that have a big idea, a great premise, great story, but the characters just, they're not compelling and original enough. They're just not quite good enough. And there's other people that can write amazing characters and amazing dialogue, but their stories aren't quite good enough. Those scripts are pretty good, and they're better than most scripts. Because the reality is, you talk to readers out there, they'll tell you most scripts don't really have very interesting characters or a very interesting story. So to get half of the equation right and the other equation somewhat right means that that script is better than most scripts. But it's not good enough. Not in this industry. When I was breaking into business 12 years ago, such a script might be good enough. Not now. It's a buyer's market. They want scripts and writers that can deliver on both fronts. If you ever hear someone debate what's more important to success of a script, characters or story, you know you're listening to people who've never actually had a career. Because anyone who's actually had a career would never engage in such a debate because they know it's both. Your script is only as strong as its weakest link. And that's part of the reason it's hard for so many people to break in, because they can write amazing characters but not strong enough structure and story, or they can come up with great stories and structure but not strong enough characters and or dialogue. Got to have both, and we'll be talking about that. So the demand for writers that can do both far exceeds the supply. That's the good news. The bad news is most writers can't. So what percentage of new writers think they can write to this level? Well, here's what I would say. A writer would have to be foolish or stupid or both to ever submit a script to the industry that they didn't believe was amazing, which is, when I say amazing, what I'm saying is original, fresh, strong characters, original, fresh, strong story. A script that can grab a reader's attention and hold the reader's attention all the way to the end and have a great ending. I'm talking about a script that delivers on all levels, character and story. That's, for now on, when I say an amazing script, that's what I'm talking about. A script that has amazing characters and a pretty good story is a pretty good script. It's not an amazing script. Anyone who's willing to go out to the industry and have their first impression or second impression be a script that's less than amazing is stupid or foolish. And I've worked with thousands of writers over the last 10 years, and I know for a fact that most writers are not stupid or foolish. Sure, we have some in our collective fraternity, sorority, but not many. So therefore, I make the assumption that most writers who go out to the marketplace, in their heart of hearts, believe they're doing so with an amazing script. And so the question is, when you talk to the gatekeepers, readers, agents, managers, studio executives, and you ask them, what percent of scripts submitted by new writers, writers who don't have a track record, what percent of those scripts are amazing? What's the answer? I'll give you a few seconds to come up with the answer that you think the industry will tell us. What percent of scripts by new writers are amazing? And over the last 10 years, I've brought in countless agents and managers and producers and studio readers, and what they always say is somewhere between 1 out of 200 to 1 out of 300, which is less than 1%. Talking about half of 1%. That means more than 99% of writers who, in their heart of hearts, believe their script is amazing, the industry does not agree. And there's the great disconnect. Which leads us back to that toxic cloud I mentioned but didn't get into earlier, which is to say there's so much negativity out there. Now, if I'm a writer And I believe my scripts are amazing. I really do believe that. And yet, I get no traction in the marketplace. I can't get an agent or a manager. I can't get anyone to want to hire me. But then I see some 23-year-old woman sell a script that I don't think is as good as mine. So I can go, oh, well, I guess it helps to be young, or helps to be a woman, or it helps to write that kind of genre, or you got to get lucky, or it's who you know. All those excuses. Because if I believe I'm consistently writing amazing material and nothing's happening for me, I will reasonably then conclude, yeah, it isn't about the material. It's about who you know. It's about how young or old. I've heard them all. You got to be attractive. You have to be straight. You have to be gay. You have to be Jewish. You have to be Christian. You have to live in LA. You have to be from New York. You have to be writing this kind of a script. You have to be writing this kind of a script. I remember there was like a very quirky, character-driven script that sold for a fair amount of money, and everyone's like, I don't write those kind of scripts. I write big concept comedies, but obviously the only way to break into business now, they only want those quirky character-driven scripts. And then 3 weeks later, a big high concept comedy script sold, and all the quirky character writers were like, yeah, you got to write a big concept. It's always something other than the fact that the writer's script isn't strong enough. And that is what it is. Writers do a terrible job of being able to self-evaluate their own material. And again, I don't know a single writer who can consistently write amazing material who doesn't have a career. Now, are they satisfied with their career? Probably not. Because complaining is a birthright for a writer, and nobody's ever satisfied. But I'm talking about paying the mortgage. I'm talking about writing on assignment, TV, features, getting paid to live a creative life. In the last year, I've had over 50 writers that I've worked with have launched careers. And I can tell you one thing that all those writers have in common is that they write amazing material. So again, let's go back to the original question. According to agents and managers, what is the single biggest mistake writers make when trying to break in the industry? And the answer should be pretty obvious now.